Okay, the Ways and Means Committee meeting will be called to order. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Moore,
Here.
Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard,
Here.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Muhammad,
Present.
Chairman Williamson.
Here.
You have 5 present, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Today we have two board bills on the agenda today. First, we're here, Board Bill 130.
Okay.
The sponsor will be Alderman Joseph Vaccaro.
Oh, hey.
Vollmer.
I mean, Vollmer. Vaccaro's on my mind, I'm sorry.
You have a troubled mind. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Board Bill 130 is to create a community improvement district in what is a new development on the hill. It's called La Collina Community. This La Collina means hill in Italian for you folks.
Yeah.
That's why we call it that.
About hill, on that hill.
Thought it was a piece.
That was a brine of liquor.
It could be. This is an 11-acre site that was formerly the site of the Magic Chef Stove Company, owns Brockway, Illinois, plastic company, all these factories that have been abandoned and empty for the last 10 to 12 years completely. So Draper Kramer out of Chicago has come down to develop the site, and they own all 11 acres. So they are, when you look through your paperwork, they're the property owners. So there's no residents on site yet. Buildings probably won't be going up until next spring, because if you drive by there currently, you'll see there's piles of rubble. They've torn everything out, foundations, and they're actually taking all that and repurposing it. So what we have is a site where there's going to be a apartment building of 225 units, a 4-story apartment building, a luxury unit, surrounded by 76 or 77 single-family homes. So what this requires is a lot of infrastructure, and most of this SID will be used for the infrastructure and for the what is currently going on now, the grading and everything as far as getting the property ready to purpose for residential use. I have with me Mr. Jim Ellsman from Draper and Kramer, their lawyer, Mr. Dave Sweeney. If you have any direct questions as to the details of the SID, we'll have to have the brains come up and talk.
How about that? Okay, well, all I have to say is good luck and congratulations on your development. I think it's gonna be a real nice city, a nice community district, and yeah, I look forward to seeing that. Okay, so we'll start first. Alderman Davis is not here. Alderman Moore.
Will there be any gap financing or that you'll be applying to this project?
No, there's no.
No. What about tax abatement?
There is tax abatement on the whole development. The 10-acre site has 10-year abatement. That passed almost a year and a half, 2 years ago on the floor. So we did that through, because again, the site was nothing but warehouses. Over the years, as it was abandoned, we've probably thrown out 2 or 3 meth labs, a slew of homeless people.
Yeehaw.
It was actually almost like a homeless person's camp. Well, they were actually, they were stealing cars and then living in the cars inside because there was no heat in the building. We found all kinds of things going on. So it was very much a detriment to the neighborhood. And sitting there for so long, getting a developer to come in, it's again, 11 acres. This is quite an undertaking. I believe the total investment by Draper and Kramer is going to be in the $70 million area by the time they're done with this, if not more.
How many buildings on that you gotta tear down?
They were actually torn them all down. It was 11 acres of almost nothing but building. There was no parking lots or storage. These were connected. The original Magic Stove Company was built in the late 1800s, the Magic Chef Stove Company, and they kept adding on as the company grew bigger. And the family that owned the property then, as the Magic Chef and other businesses, came in, they added on and tried to modernize, but it just couldn't keep up. It was just an old, very old brick building. You're familiar with bricks, I know very well.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Alderman Vaccaro's not here. Alderwoman Howard.
How much money do you expect to derive from this annually?
Financially, who has it? I can ask either Dave or
This is my colleague, Ms. McCoy.
If you'd like to step up to the chair,
Yeah.
Sure, I would love to.
come into the hot seat.
So
Could
if
you also
you,
sign in on the sheet
Oh,
too,
yeah,
please?
of course.
Is
Thank
that,
yeah,
anywhere's fine.
okay.
You're on the far side, you're pro.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, so if you have,
Another one.
Sorry, I gave her
oh,
mine.
does anyone, would you like
I'm
another
okay.
copy? So if you have the Community Improvement District petition there,
This here.
yes, that one. And if you go ahead and take a look at, let's see, it's pages 6 and 7.
Okay.
And so on pages 6 and 7, it shows, one thing about this community improvement district, it's a little bit different than some that you may encounter where there's a sales and use tax put in place. This one's just a special assessment. So,
And this is just a property tax?
yes, it works similarly to a property tax.
Will it be paid with the property tax? or
Yes.
set aside? Okay.
Yes, and since
Okay.
this is a property where taxes are abated for the next 10 years, it kind of fills that gap and acts in a similar amount to what the property tax would have been had property taxes been charged. So the residents and the people that purchase homes in this area or who, or the owner of the apartment building will pay this assessment, which will sort of fill the place of real property taxes at that time. And then as far as your question as to the amounts, if you look on pages 6 and 7, it's in that table there, and I apologize because I do not have totals for you that go across, but the property is divided into 3 different classes, an A class, a B class, and a C class, and that's simply just based on location within the SID area, and then also a multifamily class. So those amounts that are listed there in the table are what will be allocated to each class and then divided among the lots in each class.
So in 2019, a single family will pay $7.57 per $100 assessed valuation?
So this is more, it's not based on assessed valuation, it's actually a kind of a set flat amount for the special assessment for each year. So for 2019, if you look at that column, your first column for the Class A single family, there are approximately 58 individual lots located within that Class A single-family group. And so, as listed there for 2019, the 73,259 will be divided among them. So for that first year in 2019,
Oh, 73,000.
Yes,
I wasn't
yes.
sure that was a comma. or-
yeah, sorry, it's a little tough to tell
Okay.
on here. So that 73,259 for the single-family Class A's will be divided among all 58 lots. So it's approximately $1,236 in 2019, and then it gradually increases up each year or every 2 years as time goes on.
Okay. So what the proceeds will be used for?
So the proceeds will be used for, the developer anticipates doing a bond issuance to be supported by the SID, and then getting the proceeds of those bonds and using those as reimbursement for the money they plan to spend in the district. So on the things that Alderman Vollmer mentioned, so the site grading, and there's actually a budget attached as well. And let me see if sorry, the copy that you have there is what's called a red line, so sometimes the tables and things don't populate through there, but let me
Right.
get you a different copy that actually shows the budgeted amounts. And so if you look at, Exhibit C of the document that Dave's passing out, it shows the projected budgeted amounts for the improvements that'll be made, that will be funded by SID funds. So obviously, as Alderman Vollmer mentioned, the developer's planning on spending, significantly more money than what's listed here on the budget, but these are items that are SID reimbursable project costs that could be funded through a SID special assessment.
So does this have a sunset?
Yes, so this one, the special assessment will only last for 10 years, so it's similar term to the tax abatement. So when the special assessment expires, real estate taxes will start being collected, and so the expectation is that those two will be about equal. So the residents shouldn't see too much of a hiccup between their last year of tax abatement and special assessment and their first year of actual assessment.
Taxes.
Mhm.
Okay. This is an interesting, I've never seen it done this way, I guess. Is this unusual?
So it's a little bit different. It's not
very creative.
It is, what's kind of interesting about this too, I think a lot of times when you see community improvement districts that use sales and use taxes, a lot of times they're a political subdivision. And so another opportunity is to make your community improvement district a nonprofit, and then they're only allowed to
And
do a
this is a
special assessment.
nonprofit?
Yes, this is a nonprofit, so it's not allowed to charge a sales and use tax, so it sticks only with the special assessment. It can't charge a sales and use tax later. In order to do that, there would have to be a whole conversion process, and it gets very complicated.
And so the proceeds only go for the infrastructure and the maintenance
Correct.
of the physical property that's
Yes.
there.
And then certain fees associated with getting bonds issued and getting the funding in place, which is pretty typical.
Now, will Draper and Kramer stay along with this until it's,
I think.
Yes, yeah.
This is Jim Elsman from Draper and Kramer, out of Chicago.
right?
Good morning, yeah. We're the developer of the site, and then we're gonna sell off a large portion of the site to McBride Homes for the single-family homes.
Okay,
As the Hill neighborhood's really being extended into the site, and then we're gonna develop the 225-unit apartment building.
and you'll be there as the manager and the.
Yes.
Yeah, they own a few other properties.
They own
in
the Southampton,
the Hampton
Right.
Gardens,
Yeah.
and they have another
They
one
do
that
a
they've just
wonderful job.
redone out in Richmond Heights also.
We've been here since 1940.
yeah, no, I know, and
They've been through the
Hampton
grind of the Hill
Gardens is-
2000 neighborhood for almost 2 years, so.
Oh,
there's-
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
as far as just getting to where we're at now.
Okay.
This process started almost
No,
2
I'm
years ago.
impressed
with-
that
with
they're
the first,
taking,
yeah.
this
Yeah.
on, because they are a wonderful shareholder for Hampton Gardens. They're, that's an older development that has been maintained very well.
Oh, absolutely.
I know personally, my mother lived there and she just,
No, great.
she thought she was in Hollywood.
But
That's
they-
great.
if they, getting through the Hill 2000 board, Monsignor Bomarito,
Yeah,
They've been
it's
through
been,
the-
it's great.
No, I'm just curious, because this is just such a wonderful development, and I'm very supportive of it. I just kind of want to know about it, because this is really an excellent reuse of that property that was, and I guess there's a lot of abatement involved too.
just a 10-year abatement is all.
No, I mean, like.
Oh, you're talking about
environmental.
EPA? Yeah, to a certain point, yes.
It was a factory, right?
Yeah.
Needed to be
Yeah,
cleaned up.
and so
Right.
that, you had to go through all that, which is.
That's all done now.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a sizable undertaking, and I didn't know you guys did development also, so. Okay, thank you so much, that's all I have. Very interesting.
Alderwoman Davis.
Oh, I did read this earlier, and just from what I heard now, I have a better understanding. What you've done, most especially for the home buyers, you're taking away some of the burden of the expense of a homeowners association and taking it back through this special assessment. I like that. Okay, I'm good.
That's what you have, Alderwoman? Okay. Alderwoman Murphy?
I said most everything was asked and answered, and I was gonna say what you said, Monsignor Bomarito thought it went through him, in the
We
Hill,
didn't-
it had to.
This idea didn't come up in July, we just didn't come here.
Exactly. I'm sure it was well thought out, so. No more questions, everything was asked and answered,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Alderwoman Muhammad? Alderman Muhammad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there will be no real property taxes or sales taxes submitted to voters with this city.
As far as property taxes on the, with the abatement, I believe, is there no?
Property tax.
There's property taxes being collected on they will take the site, with tax abatement, there is tax.
Right.
They'll take what, I believe the property taxes on that site were around $100,000 for somewhere in that ballpark. I think I'm including the 2-acre site next door.
Yeah.
Might have been somewhere,
So
but
that will be.
that'll be divided up among the apartment. So there will be taxes plus this assessment for the people moving in. So there will be real estate taxes collected for the city.
Okay. Huh. Well, congratulations on your sit, and I myself, I believe in aldermanic courtesy. I don't believe in going to another alderman's ward and telling him what's good and what's wrong. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions. Congratulations, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman.
Yeah, and most of your says, you know, don't have to really vote on like a special taxing district when it's placed on the ballot. And the majority of them are kind of through some non-profit organization when you're dealing with your says, so. I know you've been through hell and high water in the last 3 years. I've been through it, done it. I understand when you're dealing with the communities, which is only right. They have a concern, but I think you did a great job on it all.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
So I'll make a motion to entertain a motion to pass our board bill 130.
I move we pass up.
You got an amendment?
We had an amendment, that's
Uh-oh,
before you already, so
oh.
it just has to be
We
put
have to do this
I
first.
think the amendment is Dave Sweeney wants to do the deal when he moves in.
I like the 15th word.
I think we gotta do this first.
Dave, can you just give us a quick rundown of what the
It's
changes
the red line
are?
version that's before all
Yeah,
of
Oh,
so
okay.
it's the red line version, that's before all of you, and then, as we noticed, the red line doesn't do a
So
good
these
job
are-
with,
Exactly.
with the
And-
tables,
This is the clean.
so,
And the
This is
assessor's
the
office
red
has
line
seen this.
version.
and the
City
exhibits,
council's office.
so there's a
Yeah.
copy of the
So this
exhibits
was
that
This was
changed
the original petition
as well.
that contained the plan
We
in
did.
there.
Yes.
And then they amended the plan and the petition. So since this is part of the board bill, so this is the clean version and then that's the red line.
Okay.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to pass out the red line copy that we received with the changes on the calculation of the 10-year tax abatement.
I move we pass out Board Bill 130 as amended with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Moore,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Mohammed,
Aye.
Chairman Williamson.
Aye.
You have 6 aye votes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Board Bill 130 as amended has been passed out with due pass recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
Thank you,
Committee.
committee.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Dawn
Dave,
said we're
don't
jealous.
Yes.
I'll be here.
You know,
Wow.
I said you're jealous. We have to-
So this is 11 acres?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our second board bill,
Is that
which is
130?
Board Bill
No, we just did
123.
Oh, that's,
So there's a committee substitute for this.
And, right,
Yeah. Yep.
so I'd like to make a motion that we accept, committee sub 123.
So moved.
Second.
He gets back to the all roll. The previous row.
No objection. Okay, so where did we go? Here it comes. Thank you, sir.
All right, good morning, Alderwoman.
Good morning.
You can go ahead and start the presentation of the committee sub of Board Bill 123.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We have a committee substitute before you today because we just had the incorrect entity listed on the original bill that we are selling to. We're working with a developer who has a proven track record here in the city of St. Louis of completing some successful and innovative projects all over the city, but with a focus in Midtown and Downtown West. This would be an infill project that is an extension of the Jefferson Connector project, which we've talked about here previously, which is a mixed-use development with some buildings that have been vacant for a number of years. The Beaumont building being sort of the linchpin of the entire project. And so I have Jim Garibelglia with the comptroller's office here and the developer just to speak to how we came to the price of the land sale and then a little bit more about the project. And then we're obviously happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Jim.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Garibelli.
members of the committee. I just wanted to let you know that an appraisal was done on the parcels, that the developer has agreed to pay the appraised price that you see in the bill as is before you.
Okay.
Very good. We'll go down the line. Alderwoman Davis.
No questions.
Alderman Moore,
No questions.
Alderwoman Howard.
Where is this exactly?
It's downtown west on Washington.
2200 Washington?
Cross
No,
out.
it looks, so,
Because that's the name of the,
on the exhibit, it lists 2106 through 2114, Washington, 2128
Oh,
through
okay.
2130. Yeah,
The
and then, I'm
legal
sorry, I
description, okay.
apologize, if this is helpful, these are just illustrations of the Jefferson Connector project as a whole. So it
Okay.
kind of highlights the area in which we're working.
and what is their plan for this?
Would you like to have the developer come up with, to answer specific questions?
If they're here.
Yeah, mhm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jason Johnson.
He's signing
Oh,
too,
yep, I'm still
Mr.
with
Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's just one sheet of paper.
Right here, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
My name is Jason Johnson, and I'm Renaissance Development Associates, and as they said a little bit earlier, we've been working in this Midtown neighborhood since 2002, working hand in hand with Alderman Davis along the way. We've just now successfully completed our 60th building, so it's been a long road, but we've gotten there, and based off of the success so far, we've decided to get a little bit more risky and figure out what the neighborhood has been missing over the years, and trying to make sure that when we're all done, given the economy is doing okay right now, that we're leaving the neighborhood as a long-term self-sustaining neighborhood that can really support itself and have the amenities and the people in place that will continue to allow it to thrive. So just a little bit of background. One of the things that we've done in this particular neighborhood is, as we've been redeveloping the buildings, we've been moving in creative agencies, branding, PR, websites, all that kind of stuff. And through common ownership of mine, as these agencies have moved into the neighborhood and they've outgrown their spaces, even though they might sign a 5-year lease, if they outgrow it in 2 years, we let them out of their leases and move them into something bigger to allow them to continue to,
Within the,
within this, what's really kind of called, Midtown Alley, some people call it.
Okay.
So that's actually been very successful, and out of the 46 agencies that are down there, about a third of them have taken advantage of that, if not once, but twice. So as we've been bringing in a little bit of retail and restaurants and stuff in order to support all these agencies, and one thing to keep in mind in this particular neighborhood, there was never any residential, because it was all car related, dealerships and auto parts and stuff. We've been trying to bring in as much residential as possible, because in an urban environment, it's really great to be able to share parking and share security and have that 24-hour kind of city thought process in these projects. And so we've done that whenever it's been possible. We still desperately need some more residential density, so that's one thing that we really are trying to improve on. And because of, a lot of these buildings aren't very big, but because of the size of them, we've not been able to get much office space under 2,500 square feet. And so with kind of the new economy of St. Louis, there's this huge startup market. And a lot of the agencies that we have down there, they'll leave and start their own agency, but we never have office spaces for them because we really don't have anything much under 2,500 square feet. So that whole thought process was to figure out a place in which we can bring that to the table. And the Beaumont building, which everybody kind of knows and sees off of Jefferson and Locust, is the one that's got the graffiti all over it, right behind the big AT&T tower. That building is important it's been vacant forever, and it keeps continuing to be even more riddled with graffiti, but shortly we'll be under construction with that. And the reason why that building is so important is because it's shaped like an E. And I know that sounds strange, but that allows you to get light into the center of the building, which then allows us to make the spaces smaller so we can bring in smaller office spaces. So that, with the sheer size of the building being about 100,000 square feet, we can also bring another 75 apartments to the neighborhood, which we need to kind of bridge the gap between all of the residential units that are in downtown West with the residential units that we have in the Midtown Alley neighborhood. So it really kind of brings those neighborhoods together. And as we were looking at that particular building, even though you would think with Wells Fargo right there and some of these other things that there would be life in that part of the district, there really just is not at all. So how do you get the people in the Beaumont building to want to be in the Beaumont building with nothing around it, right? So as we do as developers, we bend a lot of ears and try to find other investors and stuff, and we've been able to build a team that is focusing on that particular intersection, which we've been calling the Jefferson Connector, to really bring the communities together and try to bring as much of the missing pieces of a community together at one time as we possibly can in order to make this whole thing really vibrant. So part of the Jefferson Connector project, and sorry for those who have heard me talk about this 50 times, is the Beaumont building. We have 9 other smaller buildings around it that we will engage with different venues like, you know, bars and restaurants and the coffee houses and all those things that are missing. We're going to be building a hotel. We're going to be building a retail village made out of shipping containers, basically because that fits kind of the creative district. So as all those things have been coming together, and as we've built the investment team and have the incentives in place, one of the financial investors in all of this with me is Twain Financial. They're currently located on Washington Avenue. They have about 55 employees now. They're in major growth mode. Within about a year, they're going to be up to 85 employees, and so they're putting their money where their mouth is and actually building a new. They're allowing me to help them build a new facility at 2200 Washington. But part of that caveat was, again, there's nothing around there. How are we going to get coffee houses and amenities and things to surround that and connect that to the Jefferson Connector? So we're kind of calling this whole project the Jefferson Connector East. And just another little note, because of when you're putting this kind of infrastructure in place, you really have to reach out not only locally but regionally to try to find tenancies in order to move into these facilities. We've been becoming a tour guide, right? And as there's been a lot of interest from people in Kansas City and other areas, when I start that tour at the Arch, which is now beautiful and all these amazing plazas that the city has put together, we start going down Washington Avenue and it's been redeveloped and looking good. We hit about 1900 block of Washington, and that's when everybody starts looking at their phone and zoning out because there is nothing for 5 blocks. So our Jefferson Connector project basically picks up at, you know, the 2300 block and then finishes off through, basically you get to Clayton and it's a great tour except for those 2 blocks. So that was part of the reason why I convinced Twain Financial to move to 2200 Washington, and thus why we're here today talking about the lots that are surrounding it. We desperately need that tour to be vibrant and fully developed along that strip. And so I've convinced them and my other partners to step up and bring some additional capital to the table in order for us to do some exciting things on these lots that were being proposed to purchase today around that 2200 building in order to eventually have that whole strip vibrant and fully developed for these tours. And so many of you probably know there's a big effort to try to rebrand and kind of catapult the whole garment district. The garment district will lead right into what we're talking about, into the Jefferson Connector, into Midtown Alley, into Grand Center. So we can accomplish that through these last few pieces. And in fact, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish within about half of the square footage of this lot purchase is a project that's affiliated with the garment district. It's a company called St. Louis Apparel and Manufacturing. It's a high-tech knit company for the fabrication of garments. And these guys, we kind of poached through the Fashion Fund from Detroit in order to put a facility here. The SLDC has given them a new market allocation if they can pull their equity together. They're just about finished doing that, and we would love to build that facility on about half of this square footage. Everybody knows we're a show-me state. If you can walk through the garment district and start heading towards this creative district and actually see the designers designing these pieces and them actually coming out of those machines in part of this parcel, I think it's only going to add to the flavor and the experience of St. Louis in, you know, that whole maker's mindset with all these creative different businesses that are down there. So that's a big piece of what's being planned here. There's a little bit of complexity with Locust Business District owning a little sliver adjacent to one of these parcels. It's been batted around for years on potentially putting in a dog park. It really doesn't fit. It's not a big enough parcel to do that. So we're working with a company out of Kansas City again called Bar K in order to do a dog park that actually is also a music venue and a bar. So we kind of killed, you know, 3 birds with 1 stone for lack of better words or terms. And then Twain Financial and the daycare that's across the street from their new facility, they all need additional parking. And so as we're landing, you know, the assurity that we have the site acquired, we're gonna be finalizing our, kind of the master plan on how the parking's going to work. In addition, there's a group out of Kansas City, ironically, that's wanting to do a big co-working facility called the Abbott Collaborative place, and that's actually gonna be on the parcels kind of intermixed in between these lots that we are trying to acquire. So we're kind of trying to master plan the whole thing and make this as dense as possible, as walkable as possible, as interesting as possible in order to really make this thing thrive, you know, from arch to park, really.
So the part you're acquiring is the green shaded
There's
piece
3 parcels, yeah, so.
that are kind of strung together here?
Yep.
Okay, so there's one,
So on the
it's all
basically.
south of Washington.
Yeah, the south side of Washington, it's basically all of the ground except for the little building in the middle.
Uh-huh.
And then the northwest corner of the north side of Washington.
And is that
block.
Olive there?
Olive is the next block to the,
So,
To the
I mean,
south.
it
Looking
goes-
at Locust, I think, maybe.
Locust is in it.
Okay.
yeah, Locust, then Olive.
So is that the old Jefferson Bank there, part of that?
Jefferson Bank is a few blocks away from
Okay.
this, actually.
I just, I'm
West
looking at.
side.
So we're kind of adjacent to the taproom parking lot, if that's
Okay.
familiar.
Oh,
You stay
yeah.
east of Jefferson, right?
Correct. Yep.
But I mean, you're going west of Jefferson also.
Yeah, so the
That's-
Jefferson Connector project
It
plus
connects.
east basically goes from the 2000 block of Washington all the
Across.
way, our developments are all the way through the 2800 block of Locust.
Oh, okay, so you do go
So
west.
it's,
Okay.
and then our development efforts since 2002 basically go almost all the way to the Fox Theater along
Okay.
Locust primarily.
All right.
So I know that's a lot to digest, but I think it's important to understand the backstory of, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the success of this thing really has, like I said, we've become a tour guide, and it's so exciting. Not that I needed more projects right now, but it's so exciting in order to really have some interest from the regions wanting to start pouring into St. Louis. And it's just so important to have that tour be so spot on, and it's just that 2 blocks, it just kills us right now.
Okay, that's all. I'm sorry, go ahead. I just,
I need to apologize, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Murphy?
No, no questions really. It sounds good. This is all in the 6th Ward.
For this piece it is, but 6 and 19
Yeah.
This part
work
is all
together.
in your ward, so I acquiesce to your ability to
Get
put this
this off the
together.
ground.
Tell me about the bark place, the dog
That's
park.
kind of clever, isn't it? Bark,
Yes, I
bark,
was,
yeah.
so,
So
my
that-
dog, well, the reason I'm asking, my dog didn't dance, sing, or drink, and I was wondering why they have
Sure.
a bulb.
Yes, so.
Mine might be able to learn. It's never.
That's right. So
There is a senior
it's in
citizen.
essence a place that, because dog parks are actually fairly expensive to maintain.
Yes, I know,
So
yes.
this actually works really well from the perspective of that it actually is a bar and a little bit of a music venue. And so the
Okay.
revenue of that actually, because it will be a private entity, will pay in order to maintain the dog park portion. But in essence, you guys come and bring your dogs play, and you play with your friends, and everybody's happy.
And
It's a
somehow I see
win-win.
those pictures
Yeah.
of the dogs with the cards and the cigars.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. Maybe they will make that picture come to life. There you go. No, it sounds like a wonderful plan. I'm jealous.
And ironically, part of the reason why we started talking to them, I know all this Kansas City stuff, but because of the shipping container retail village we're working on building, part of their campus for the dog park is actually shipping containers too in Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
So we're just gonna have kind of this little sprinkle of shipping containers to keep the theme going, which I thought was appropriate
That is
and
fun.
interesting.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. No more questions?
Yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
And I want to apologize, I overlooked Alderman Moore. I apologize, Alderman.
And Marlene Davis.
No, I got
Oh,
one.
I said no questions.
Yes, you.
Yeah, I just overlooked one.
Your
sorry.
turn, sir.
You mentioned the garment district.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, there gonna be new buildings or is it gonna be rehab where we can just walk up and see what's going on?
So the garment district basically is kind of the, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not totally immersed in that, but it's really the western end of the Washington Avenue
What
project.
streets is it in between the whole
So,
development?
what do we think, maybe like 1400 block of Washington to maybe the 1900 block or 1300 block of Washington to 1900 block?
It really ended at the 14.
It ends at the
Because the
14?
Merchandise Mart building,
Mhm.
actually it goes further down than that. The Merchandise Mart building was the hub back in the day. And what we've done is kind of turned it around a little bit and added more to it. But in the area of the Merchandise Mart building, you all know that that's at 10th and Washington.
Right, that's true, yeah, so it goes
And
further down that
so,
way.
that's pretty much where it started.
Okay.
That's where we used to go get
I
our.
see where you
Yeah.
got the 2200 block here,
Mhm.
The
and
red
then
building.
somebody mentioned the 2000 block. That is,
So 2000 block is right now is kind of where the Sporting News is.
mhm.
And then across the street from there, part of the parking of this kind of master plan starts across the street from that in the 2000 block. And so it's really kind of stretching, starting there west.
Ingrassia is in your ward,
All of this is in the 6th Ward, yes.
you got my vote.
That's what I.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. Apologize about that, Alderman, I'm sorry, I overlooked you.
So if it had been Marlene, I'd have been raising some cane. Since it was Beth and Carol.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Those are your friends, those are your buddies, I understand. Okay, Alderman Vacaro's not here, Alderman Boyd's not here. Next on the list would be Alderman Muhammad.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. Well, look like it's gonna be exciting development.
Keep your fingers crossed for us. Never easy.
No, nothing ever.
I think you guys will do well. Good location, very good location. Okay, so I'll make a motion to pass out committee sub, Board Bill 133, I entertain a motion. 123.
I move we pass Board Bill 123, committee substitute with the do pass recommendation.
Second.
All right, do previous roll. Previous roll. All right. Board Bill 123 has been passed out, committee sub, Board Bill 123 has been passed out with due pass recommendation.
I gave it to Tracy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.